Hello and welcome back to LARPs and Tarps. This week we're going to be talking about the Grendel. I'm Morgan. I'm joined with my co-host Tom. Say hi to everyone, Tom.
What's up?
Disgusting. And then we are also joined by a special guest, Adam. Do you want to introduce yourself, Adam?
Hello, yeah, my name's Adam. I've been playing Lord Corwin de Rondel since just before the game began.
Yeah, because you were like a beta tester, I guess, kind of thing?
Yeah. So I was there for Maelstrom, the previous game, and I was around when PD said, hey, we've got a new game coming called Empire, and we'd like you to play test the combat rules. And they went, okay, here we are. There was a mob of 30 people per side, and it was a very different game to what you know, because back then, battle magic, was sympathetic. So if I hit you with Repel, I got zoned backwards too. If I hit you with Venom, I got Venom too.
See, that does feel insane.
It was mad. It was absolutely bonkers. So mages were very high value targets because they were the only people who could do stuff like paralyze. And so they would paralyze someone and have to hold still. And then you'd have to then hit them.
I just love the idea of mages flying all over the battlefield and repels crashing into each other.
Yeah, it was mage ping pong, but the real deadly one was Venom, because back then Venom reduced your bleed count not to 30 seconds. It used to knock it down to 0.
Yeah,
so
Christ.
If you got hit with Venom and then hit with Cleave, you were dead. Your character was instant dead.
That's like an ultra lethal. So because I know there was a discussion around them trying to make death meaningful and how to work around that, but that's cooked. Like, that's no good.
Yeah, that was like, it's amazing there weren't as many murders as there would have been, because essentially, if you could buy a dose of blade venom, which anyone could just have as an apothecary in one hand, and then you just carry a regular knife in the other one, you could just walk up to someone and say, Venom, Cleave. 2 seconds, they're dead. And at the time, we joked about going into the academy like, hey, kids, do you want to learn weapon calls? Venom, Cleave.
Go full Anakin Skywalker.
Did they keep those rules after the beta test?
They kept a lot of them. It took about a year or so, I think, for...
a million character deaths.
Well, it was very much character building, new character building.
I couldn't afford to play Empire. I can't afford to play it now, but replacing my costume or outfit every single event would be crazy.
Yeah, like I lost... So one of ours was a senator, he was a battle mage, and literally one Druge came in and shouting Venom, and the other one came in shouting Cleave, and so literally 2 blows at the same time just killed him instantly.
Oh, Christ.
That is savage. Well, praise to you for surviving.
Yeah, well done. And we had fought the Druge, but we've never fought as the Druge, which is why I've got the LARP noobs on last week.
We have Druge envy.
Christ, I want to fight as a Druge. But I've never encountered in any setting a Grendel.
I have during a skirmish, which was quite fun. But
Did you actually fight the Grendels?
We weren't meant to, but we did. But we took 19 of the 20 of them alive.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I think someone got trigger happy and killed one of them, which we were trying not to do with all the peace treaties.
Jesus Christ.
They were under the influence of cursed Leagueish masks.
Oh, no,
so we got the masks back.
There was a lot of cursed stuff from the League at that event. Because there was the cursed treasure.
R.I.P. Like, I had a number of friends on that mission, and some of them did not survive, and I got told how bad that went.
I just saw a guy coming by with the treasure screaming, like, stand back. Like, what? Do you know what it was?
Yes.
What was it?
It was a clash between what happened with the briefing. So they have like the Imperial Scoutmaster who kind of gives you an idea of what the quests are, and that what they said was the treasure is cursed. It will curse whoever picks it up. But what happened was when you got near it, it did a massive area of effect where it would basically strip you. It would weaken you, venom you, and in some cases made you incapable of acting or defending yourself. So the entire
savage.
line. Yeah, that happens to the entire battle line, and that skirmish is going absolutely tits up within about 5 seconds.
Oh my God.
And they had one of our best commanders. It was Gabriel leading that one, and he is one of our most veteran, best, most wholesome generals.
He made me dance at the Little Mother's Ball. It was hilarious. Nietzsche, get over here!
Yeah, we were literally, me and Tom were like chatting. I see like across from the dance floor, and he just starts screaming across the floor, and Nietzsche gets dragged on. And I proceed to watch one of the most interesting dancers I've ever seen.
I don't move with grace. That's why I'm in Clank.
So when, again, we spoke about this before, but when you joined, there was the 4 orc nations, but you weren't at war with all of them or something?
No. So at the time, we were only at war with the Thule and the Druge. We were not at war with the Jotun or the Grendel yet.
It's mad to think you weren't at war with the Jotun yet. All I've ever known is the Jotun.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a classic combo. Heavy armored orcs.
Well,
it seems like it'd be there from the get go.
Well, there was a very brief time when we were at war with. So we broke peace with the Thule shortly after the liberation of Skarsind, and Karsk was there for both of those, and then that led to a peace treaty, and shortly after, the Mornwald campaign started, and that brought us into war with the Jotun. So we were at war with the Jotun and the Druge, and then there was an issue. What happened was that Grendel came in, because back then fleets operated very differently. Your personal resource, the fleet, had option to trade with foreigners, raid foreigners, trade with barbarians, or raid barbarians. And trading with barbarians, it said, this is treason. If you get caught doing this, you make more money, but you are committing treason.
Just a little bit of treason.
I'm kind of sad you can't do that anymore.
Well, the flip side was if you raided foreigners, you got more money, but it also said this will sour your relations with this foreign nation. And many people across the empire, some nations were more guilty of this than others, had kind of briefed themselves to be like, oh, we used to fight the Grendel, so we're going to do nothing but raid the Grendel, and we get huge mobs of fleets to raid the Grendel. And so the Grendel turned up and went, stop it. No, I'm not kidding. Stop it.
Yeah.
And they kept doing it, and so they landed an invasion force in Sarvos.
Is that how we lost our navy?
Yeah, we built a navy shortly after. We didn't have one before that. Before the Grendel War began, we kind of went, oh no, we're at war with this massive seafaring nation. We need a navy, and so we made a navy called the Freeborn Storm. Funny enough, that was actually named after a player event.
Oh, right, okay.
And then it got destroyed because it was outnumbered 6-1.
Christ.
That sounds like a waste of resources.
So it was again, the Grendel were kind of like not really an enemy, a historical enemy that we then stirred shit up with and created a problem for ourselves.
Are we the bad guys?
So what are they about?
They're not so much a nation, the way all the rest of us are nations. Think of them as a gang of cartels that work together for mutual benefit. They are not civilized. They're not pirates. They prefer to trade and they prefer to conquer. So they don't just raid. They will raid if it gives them benefit, but their big motivation is they're in it for the money. They're in it they're in it to be audacious and to be cunning.
So the orc version of the East India Trading Company, essentially?
Yeah, very much. That's a very good way to think about it. Yeah, think part Colombian drug cartel, part East India Trading Company, and that's basically the Grendel. So they're smart, they're very well educated, they've got lots of day magic, they've got lots of salt magic, which in your magic episode is what they call spring.
Oh, okay. Salt magic, they're called. Oh, okay.
Salt or sea magic, yeah.
Because it's all about the water, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Siaka and stuff.
Yeah.
Now I want to carry pocket salt.
Yeah. So when we first fought them, they really do like to be audacious. The part of their philosophy is you need to do the big thing to show that you are the be all and end all. It's all about luck and being able to carry that luck. So they are the iron glove. So the iron fist and a velvet glove. So the Dawlish formed our battle lines, and a single Yo-folk managed to negotiate with the Grendel to be led through the Grendel battle line to their leader, who was sat under a tent held up by 4 slaves, laying on a carpet of leopard skins, being served grapes, and he was on the battlefield doing that. And they negotiated to have any Dawlish captives returned back to Dawn. So that's how the Grendel operate. It is a
showmanship. Is spot on. I really want to see something like that on the battlefield.
I love the idea of that kind of because again, that's kind of like an encounter that might just never have happened. And so for that whole event, there might have just been some guy on a palanquin eating grapes, and the battle ends. He's just been there the whole time, just eating grapes.
I'm sick of grapes. Can I go home now?
Yeah. Like the Thor, they can recruit giant war beasts. So these were things like the land shark, which is about 16 foot wide, 15 foot long, part scorpion, part rhino, part tank.
All carnage.
So
there are 2 of them.
So this is what's confused me as well, because we've had big beasties at Empire that I've seen. We've had like the Spring Horror and stuff like this. When you're in all this armor and there's war rounds, all this armor, and there must be guys inside it. How do you keep track of like when you're? Because I struggle to keep track of 12 hits. Like
Billy Big Bollocks over here with 12 hits.
Never mind like however many bloody hits a and shark house. How does that? Do you know how that works?
Yeah. So big creatures like that. So like we play tested it when we did the war rhino, which helped build. That was the big thing, which was on one of the Thor battles, Battle of Icca's Tears, and it's a team of people inside, and they have a ref with them at all times, and the ref will basically do the calls on behalf of the monsters. So they'll just point at people and go, repel, impale, and because if this thing swings its head at you and you get hit with a rhino horn or a giant claw that's as big as you are, you're taking multiple calls. Yeah. And eventually, if you manage to kill the handlers, which are all the orcs surrounding it, then you can go for the rider who up top. And once you kill the rider, the creature kind of is briefed to then stop because your weapons are not going to affect it. You could hit it 100 times. It's about enveloping it, kill all of its handlers, and then the creature is briefed to drop.
That's cool.
Right.
It's immune to all calls.
This is the thing I really want to fight, because you fought alongside giants, didn't you?
Well, I've seen giants fight. I haven't been near them during the fights because we were a skirmish force, but just seeing them from the other side of the fortress swinging around, it was awesome.
I saw one of those go into the Tourney of Worlds thing. Where they actually had a proper ring fenced arena, which was for the Tourney of the realms plus the different nations.
When was this?
This was before Elisabetta was thrown.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Big Tourney of the Worlds, and it was a Dornishman who actually won that one.
Yeah.
Because the ice giant went in, and so you have a creature that's mostly immune to weapons. Its arms are weapons, and it can do limitless strike down. So one orc went in carrying like every weapon known to man, and it just hit him once. It just panel beat him into the ground, leaving this orc-shaped hole in the floor.
Oh no!
Jesus.
So someone went in and cleverly used a pike, which was way longer than the creature's arms, to hit it square in the chest. Its chest was the only place it could be hit, so it was able to just dodge back and just out of reach of its arms and hit it repeatedly with that pike.
Jesus.
So yeah, that was back when we had an arena.
It sounds like we've missed some big things in Empire.
Yeah, I was going to say, where was the arena?
The arena, this was...
When there was an arena. That's crazy.
So I think that was when we still had Tournament Stud, the first site for Empire, because Empire was at Tournament Stud, then Honeymead. Honeymead was a fun site because it was on the same site as a brewery.
Ooh, sounds delicious.
Yeah. Didn't smell great. But yeah, and then we went over to our current site, Dadford Road. Yeah. So I think it was then, might have been in the early days of Dadford Road, back when the tavern still had a second floor.
I'm so sad the tavern doesn't have a second floor anymore.
My fault.
See pictures of it. It's your fault?
Yeah.
Why?
I was Red Hat at the time, and I was as we were preparing to move from one site to another, we couldn't transport the tavern in its 2-floor state. It wouldn't have survived.
Yeah.
So I was given the order by Matt P to cut the top off, and so I did.
You could have kept that as a souvenir.
So it can't be put back on again?
It would be if they wanted to do it, they could rebuild it. They've got people who are joiners. They know there's a lot of expertise on that team. If they wanted to rebuild the second floor, they could. But odds are they're going to put more into the logistics, say like the road structure, etc. I can't speak for PD because I've not been a Red Hat for a while, but that's kind of what.
Let's start a petition to get a second floor in the tavern. That's what I want.
Yeah, a lot of people would like it. Everyone's got their own idea of what their priorities are for the field.
Yeah,
I think their priorities probably go more towards making life easier for people
probably
with accessibility
buying
needs.
buying their own field's probably the big thing at the moment. Then they can start building bigger structures.
Well, they have that project. I've bought my share.
Ooh. Oh, have you bought a share? Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I bought a share in the project.
I was looking into it, but maybe we should do a Laps and Tarp share.
I'm willing to buy you. Well,
we'll have to have a look.
How much we got on the pot? £50.
we've got 50p.
Anyway, back to Grendel.
Back to Grendel.
That's what it was like to feel. So if you went on a skirmish with them and they kind of caught you, if the Druid caught you, we used to be briefed like, okay, drag downed Imperials back to the gate, but about 30 feet away from it and torture them in front of the allies so they get to role play back and forth. The Grendel would just capture Imperials, bring them back to the gate, and then ransom them back, saying, "Hey, what you got? This guy looks important. Give us 10 orichalcum and we'll give him back," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Jotun very briefly were told honor duels could be a thing, one-on-one fights, but then that quickly came and went, no, don't do that.
Why is that?
It kind of slows down the progress of the fight. There were reasons behind it. I think kind of the point is that you're here to have a battle. You're not here to, because people was using it to kind of slow down and distract the enemy, and the enemy are professional soldiers. They really shouldn't be falling for this. And like the Jotun path to honor is to die gloriously in battle, to die heroically. So why would they not fight you at their best?
So the Grendel, I guess that kind of leans into their brief. They would come forward and you would. Yeah, that feels so.
They're there to conquer. So like they're not like they could make a bit of extra money, but since they're here to win the fight,
Yeah.
they're not here to enrich themselves personally. Like, winning the battle is going to make you far more money because that leads you to taking a whole territory. Why would I go waste time with this 1 or 2 people when I could take an entire territory with tens of thousands of people in it?
So I guess the kind of the battering back and forth was more of, again, that audacity thing. It was kind of like, we want to prove, we're like, this is fun for us.
Yeah. So like, audacity is all about the Dornish kind of view is kind of similar in that it's, you have the guts to do something no one else would dare to do. So people talk about this raid on Dubtraig. Dubtraig is the Grendel capital on the place called the Broken Shore, which is like an archipelago off the south of the map. And the Empire, because we didn't have a navy anymore, we couldn't lash out with a navy, but we did have a lot of fleets. And so we managed to organize enough fleets to go raid their capital. And it was the first time we did this, one of these massive downtime raids. And the Grendel turned around, and rather than being angry that we just turned up with several hundred fleets and punched them in the nose, they were like, you know what? Fair dues. You do it again, and we're coming at you with navies. But we actually respect your moxie. You actually really did something that we can understand.
I like the cut of your jib.
Yeah, for now.
Basically that, yeah. It was very much like, you're my kind of bastard, was basically the reply we got in the diplomatic corps.
I think you were telling me about some of their audacity. For one thing, they wanted to build the biggest public service building in an area to show up all the empires.
Yeah. So as a member of the diplomatic corps, I'm currently ambassador to the Iron Confederacy. Also,
us, another ambassador. We had Yarm and now the Iron Confederacy. We're going up in the world, Morgan.
Oh no, the Iron Confederacy is not up in the world. But yeah, so they basically turned to the diplomatic corps and went, okay, our ambassador is the Imperial Fleet Master, and we'd like to have an embassy. And we want our embassy to be bigger and shinier than everybody else's. And it said in the Wind of Fortune, if you build it to their specifications, i.e. bigger, the other nations will feel slighted. It will be an insult to the other nations, but that's how the Grendel are. They'll push to see how far you will let them go.
I want to see a Grendel cod piece just for the pure audacity of it. It takes 2 slaves to carry
Big
it.
enough to hide a staff in.
The other part of their brief, which is really important to remember, is that they have, I want to say temerity, but it's not the word they use. Basically, you are as good as your word. When they strike a contract, they will stick to it, absolutely. If a Grendel doesn't stick to his contract, he doesn't stick to his word, he's lost face, and it possibly endangers his soul, but also endangers his place in society. And Grendel salt lords who fail end up in the salt mine.
So tell us about the Salt Lords then. They sound like a cool concept.
So they're basically the leaders of the Grendel. So much like I liken them to cartels, they're the cartel bosses. So each of them they've got like a castle, a keep, they have a salt mine, which is why they're called the Salt Lords. So for them, a person falling into slavery and being thrown into the salt mine, which is a short, brutal, painful life, that's just it's just a natural end to those who aren't audacious and aren't prosperous enough and aren't, honest enough or have enough temerity to actually win at the game that is life. So they just see slavery as a natural ends to those who just can't compete. And so the Salt Lords, they're the ones who rule all the other lesser Grendel. They've managed to climb their way up to the top through being audacious, through being cunning, by being ruthless and making the most money. So for them, it's all about how much they can squeeze out of a territory. They will take all the resources they can. So like we've seen in Feroz and Spiral, the Empire has taken all the citizens out of Feroz, meaning it has no tax revenue. And that Salt Lord is getting very, very upset because he can't make any money.
Yeah.
Well, correction, he's not a Salt Lord, he's a governor. But the Salt Lord he serves is going to be upset because his lieutenant is now losing face and losing money.
Yeah.
Whereas the one in Spiral has managed to successfully trade with the Empire, and they'd rather trade with you than fight you, because trade is always more profitable than war.
Their pre-war negotiation tactics before the treaty, didn't they used to just be show up and ask for money, basically?
Pretty much. Once the peace treaty was signed, one thing they did was they just turned up to the Empire and went, hey, we're going to go back to war with you if you don't give us 500 thrones. And Lisabetta used her power of Hand of the Chancellor to take the money out and then pay them off. And it is cheaper to pay a bribe than it is to actually go to war. Armies cost a lot of money, and losing territories costs even more. So Though, yeah,
So
people had
unless you could fix the problem permanently,
yeah.
you might as well patch
And
it.
you can't really fix the problem permanently right now because we don't have a land bridge with the Grendel. They are the only nation that we deal with that has as many navies as they do, and they've got a lot of magic which is specifically built to aid navies, and their navies allow them to raid and take various bits of land on our border. I mentioned earlier, the first thing they hit was Savos, so they were turning up to the City of Mirrors and breaking all the mirrors before it was cool, and the Highborn stole the idea.
We've talked about how they're just kind of drug cartels. What does their power structure look like? I guess we've kind of covered it. But
Yeah, so it's kind of like Salt Lord. Then if they're in charge of a territory, it would be like a governor. But then you'd have like the captains who are in charge of the vessels. So
Yeah, okay.
I haven't seen the exact full breakdown of their society, but it's a kind of trickle down.
So there's not like
structure.
an Uber Salt Lord.
No, there is not one great Salt Lord. There are various ones that are all competing against each other. There's no one true high cartel leader.
I think I heard under the Salt Lords there is the Sea Lords who take charge of the ships, like captains. They have quite a bit of power.
Yeah.
That probably their version of a general.
Yeah.
Because they do have some armies. When we fought them in the Spiral campaign, I think we destroyed at least one of them,
Yeah.
Okay.
which has cost them a lot. So that's one reason why they kind of want to continue on the protection racket, because we destroyed at least one entire army. That's several hundred thrones worth of material that they lost.
I think one thing I adore about the Grendel brief is that they'll only do things if it has economic value to them. If
Yeah.
it's just war for the sake of war or honor, glory, no, don't care.
Yeah, they don't care. They're not the Jotun. The Druge do it too because they want to subject people to their rule, and they do it through fear. The Jotun want to do it because by dying heroically and honorably, they get across the Howling Abyss. The Grendel, they're not in it for that. They're in it to make as much money as possible and to be as cunning as possible. So that's how they get across the Great Abyss.
See, yeah, so that's, I think one thing that's really interesting whenever you're looking at any of the barbarians is looking at who they're intended to reflect. And I think it's really funny listening to the Grendel. I wouldn't have expected this, but you can see elements of all the different nations in. I feel like Freeborn, quite obviously, they reflect. There's a bit of Dawn in there, which surprised me. That kind of audacity, a kind of like doing a great deed, almost seems kind of like part of their shtick as well.
Yeah, there's, you're very right that they do reflect various bits of the Empire, which does make sense because though we have been, sometimes enemies, sometimes not allies, but neutral to each other, cultural influence will happen. You live next to someone for long enough and you will start to share ideas.
Yeah, unless you're part of the Empire, which we're not allowed to do that. No sharing of ideas. We must stay within our egregores defined lines.
We must stay pure.
Yeah, then how they manifested on battle was much different to how a lot of the other units did.
What defines the Grendel, I guess, from a combat perspective?
So the Grendel, they kind of have a very modern style of warfare. So since they're a primarily naval-inspired culture, they kind of fight like Marines. So they have their hard elite core, which is the Stoneborn. They wear the heavy, and they are the anvil that the enemy is to be broken upon. Then they've got like the Wave Riders, who are designed to be a very fluid force that will move from point to point, and they are commanded by the Sky Mages, who are there. They're like intelligence / officer corps because they're day ritualists. They have a lot of day ritualists on their side, so they will be doing lots of rituals to inspire their commanders, give them knowledge, give them clarity of mind. And then you've got, I believe, the Kraken's Jaws. That's their like elites, hard-hitting flankers. That's where you get a lot of specialist characters. So about the same time we started the Grendel War, EMUs became a thing. Originally, you just went to monster. Elite military units for each nation didn't exist.
When did they come about?
About the same time the Grendel War did.
Which was?
I want to say around about E6. No, it must have been more closer to
year Y6, year 6.
What? So year 6, but I think might be wrong and more towards year 4 or 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's been around a while. We're on year 10 this year, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Back in your day when the Grendel were a thing.
I resemble
we
that.
didn't have emus, which was the fashion at the time.
I went to battle with a Druge head on my head.
So again, so you got what was it? What was the actual visceral? Have you fought as the Grendel?
I have fought against and I have fought as Grendel.
So what's the actual visceral experience of fighting against the Grendel?
Well, that gave us one. It was against the Grendel. We had one of our worst defeats that we ever had.
Really?
It was absolutely atrocious. Not in terms of overall fatalities, but just so what happened was the objective was the Grendel had a drake in a drake baby, or as a small drake in their compound, and we needed to go in and kill the Drake. And we get in, they've got this open fortress, a massive garage tent, and from it came this gigantic 8-foot-long head of a dragon that loomed over the battle wall and could just reach over the orcs and bite. During the fight, it leaned over the battle line, grabbed the Marcher Egregore and ate him feet first.
Oh my god! What brilliant!
What?
The Grendel were just chanting, feet first, and he just ate the Egregore. And
What?
And Dawn, I think the Imperial Orcs at Highguard, we went up against that line and we bounced. We bounced multiple times. We could not get them to move.
I think I'd just go home. I think I'd just go, no, not today, lads. I'm done.
Yeah, there were reasons for that, because back then force weightings were a bit more flexible. So basically, the generals wanted one battle to win, so they intentionally put the larger nations in that battle. And so our battle was undermanned by a significant number. So we went through already outnumbered, and we just bounced. So it was shortly after that they changed how the force weightings work, and so that way the battles are a bit more even. The generals can no longer just go, we want this one to win, so we're just going to cripple the other one.
I'm just thinking of all the poor smaller nations. Like, looks like we're being the sacrificial lambs again.
When you say bounced, as in you didn't go to battle, or
As in, we went to the battlefield, we just hit their line, and nothing happened.
I want to see this Drake puppet. That sounds fucking amazing.
There's photos of it on the
Not
on the
a puppet,
wiki.
Morgan. It's real.
Oh, sorry. I want to see a Drake. It's on the wiki.
Yeah, there's photos of it on the wiki.
I'm getting it up.
It's a great big lizardy boy.
Google with me, listeners. Right.
So that was fighting against them was always a big challenge. They're just such a good mix of elite units, and the whole shtick was they would work together, and they would have the anvil here, they'd have the counter maneuvers there. The Jotun fight in a kind of similar way, but the Grendel just had this. They just had this much more elite feel. I would like to go back to fighting the Grendel, because a bit more than the Druge. The Druge, they're basically like fighting Mordor, and eventually I've been doing this since the start, and I'd like to. The Grendel were just a bit more fun to fight.
You see, the Druge still hold horror for me. I don't know about you, Morgan, but I'm like, I'd rather fight the Jotun than the Druge, just because this is year one kind of.
Some of the most kind of iconic moments I've had in a fight been against the Druge. I would rather continue to fight the Druge and then not the Jotun, if I'm honest. The Jotun have bored me a little bit. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, of all the ones that, in character or gender-wise, I'd want to fight the Druge until there's not a single one of them left and the land has been razed and set fire.
Yes.
The Jotun, I'm more than happy to strike an agreement with, because at least they'll stick to it.
Yeah. Right, what do I Google? I want to see a picture of this thing, and I'll tell everyone else.
Sorry,
what to find
viewers.
it. No, they can. I'm good.
Are they Googling as well?
We're Googling along with us. We're on the Profound Decisions wiki.
It's this quality that I have to thank you for bearing with us and nominating for us a LARP Awards. Morgan's unprofessionalism is unexcusable.
This is fine. Shush. Everyone's enjoying this.
Are we going to put fan art of you just Googling? Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
Made by a couple called Bill and Kyra. They designed the bar and
How
the War
does that
Rhino.
eat you?
Jaw opens.
Can you pull? Do they pull you into the puppet?
Yeah.
What?
You kind of get dragged along the ground because it can't lift up a person, but it is on rails. It moves, slides in, slides forward. Its head can tilt down and up. The jaw can open and
that's so
close.
cool.
They had smoke projectors in it.
No way!
Yeah. So
Fuck me, that's so cool.
I'm super jealous of you fighting all these big beasties.
those guys I would say, like Bill and Kyra, like I said, they built the War Rhino out of a couch. They designed lots of the bits of the tavern, like the secret tunnel that only a son of us know that there is.
The secret tunnel.
Yeah, there's a secret tunnel in the tavern.
Can this be in the podcast? Do we want people to know about the secret tunnel?
Oh, it probably doesn't work anymore. It's probably since been sealed up. But when it was first built, there was a little on the outside of the tavern. There's a little door, and you can crawl under it, and it will take you underneath one of the benches. You can pop up.
I thought we were getting our money's worth from Empire, but I'm clearly being screwed out. Secret tunnels and Drake heads.
Secret tunnels and dragons. Yeah. I am now. Oh my, right, Christ! I that sounds awesome. And to see the Macho Egregore get eaten alive. Oh, I love that.
Morgan, control yourself.
Sorry.
Yeah. So color-wise, they wear lots of purple.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the Grendel. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. The Grendel wear purple. Their distinctive symbology is ocean themed. So the Ironborn have a symbol of the crab. Kraken's jaw is the squid. The Wave Riders is, I believe, a dolphin. Then you've got it's a shark. Sorry, is for the Wave Riders.
Dolphin would be more accurate because dolphins are scarier than sharks.
Told you it was purple.
And also kit-wise, the Phrygian cap. So the kind of what the Smurfs wear, that kind of hooked cap,
Yes.
the Phrygian cap, that's what they would wear. We all sewed those up for ours. And then they will wear skirts, the war skirt like the orcs do, but unlike the most orcs, which is made of like scraps of leather and looks very barbarian-y.
It's very fancy.
But theirs is like a Roman. So if you say the Roman straight
Yeah.
skirt, that's what they tend to wear. So they're to show that they are in there, not more civilized, but there's a lot blingier. It's not just scrapping things together. This has been made, tailored to look good. They like bling. They like showing off that they're wealthy. Because one of their core tenets is, I'm smarter than you, I'm better than you, is a big thing in the Grendel mindset.
Not gonna lie, it's actually tempting me to craft the idea of making a Grendel outfit.
No, I want to make some Monster Inc. We were talking to someone after Little Mother's Ball last week who was talking about they made a bunch of war skirts. And I'm like, when you're making Monster Inc. kit, you're deep in the hobby. I'm like, I want to make some Monster Inc. kit.
Well, my big tip is what I did with mine's reversible. I put one side is red, one side is purple. So with the same amount of kit, I'm able to play a Jotun or a Grendel whenever I want.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I want to do that with the jackdaws. Oh, we're losing! Quick, everyone, swap armor.
Literal. Well, that's where turncoat comes from. You turn your coat inside out, so then you look like someone else.
See, we're not just for entertainment; we're also educational.
Yeah, education, edutainment.
I've
I've always said that. Edutate. We could be on the BBC because we're edutainment.
I wouldn't put me on the BBC.
No, I would put it on the BBC.
Maybe Channel 4.
So they wear purple. They look fancy, and they fight
Like an elite military organization.
and they have big beasts often.
Some, not often. It would be, they haven't had them for a few years now. I'm not too sure where the big beasties have gone. They probably have them around somewhere.
Yeah.
Might be weather conditions, might just be they need to repair, because the big things like that, the storing big old costumes like it's got to be a problem.
I think a lot of people think that the Tragoni, all the outfits all died a death over the longest arc because they've been told they're not a problem anymore.
Yeah, they also had heralds. They would have shark heralds, which would these latex orc mask style affairs, but they had these big multi-fanged faces, and they had like a bag on them and they'd carry like prosthetic intestines in. So they were briefed that if you hit the ground, they'd immediately call execute. So they would obviously there were photos of them jumping on freeborn characters, devouring them with fistfuls of guts, pulling them into their mouth and just eating this poor character alive and executing them. And there was only like 6 of them at a time, but you saw one and it brought the fear in you because you knew that thing here is not there to fight you, it's there to kill you.
Yeah. Was it the Archmage Spring we were with who were just saying, as a mage, they were our nightmare?
Yeah.
That one call, cleave, you're down, and then you have 5 seconds to live because that's how long it takes to execute you.
Oh, no.
And then also, I gather that heralds are quite hard to kill.
They're heralds. Most heralds will have a thing. A lot of the summer ones tend to have like some mage abilities like entangle or paralyze, or they'll hit you with repel. The spring ones tend to be much more fighty, so they'll be doing lots of venoms and impales and not much in the way of defense, but they will hit like an absolute truck.
Yeah, I heard that because we fought alongside Hierarch heralds, and I heard that they could do impale with every strike, for example. Heralds are brutal.
The heralds of Irahara, the jackrabbit of freedom, their heralds can do limitless shatters with daggers.
With daggers?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
One of them came into to the Glory Square and went, I want to kill Zadkiel. I want to kill this particular Dornish noble. Why? Because of things he'd done in his previous career as an ambassador, and then just called shatter like 6 times.
I don't think we're prepared for these calls, Morgan.
Yeah, no. The day I meet a herald is the day I die, I imagine.
Plenty of heralds are fun.
You escort heralds.
I have escorted. Actually, yeah, sorry. The day I engaged in a fight with a herald. No, I escorted a bunch of day heralds to do a ritual. Back at E3?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was E3. Was E3
It was
where we
E3
met?
when I met you.
We escorted a bunch of day heralds to do like a ritual so we could find someone, I think.
Yeah, trying to think of the most fun herald I saw was one of Rhiannos. It's a giant lobster person. The summer, and he was holding a tea party, and so this guy in a giant lobster suit, human head but giant lobster body, was sat at a table of cakes and tea, but he couldn't eat any because he had giant lobster hands. And so all these mages are sat there having a tea party. He's like, I want some tea.
Viewers, you can't see my face, but I am overcome with joy. This is the happiest I've ever been hearing about this scenario.
Yeah, Rhiannos is great. Another one of his heralds, Trident, he basically talked like Lord Flashheart. He's like, you there, you're a Dornish noble. Do you like adventure? Why, yes, I do like adventure.
Well, Rhinos is the one that's given us the golden cauldron to go into Bracelian, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's all about adventure and doing stuff.
This is an adventure that hasn't been done in over 3 centuries. Rhiannos is all over it.
Yeah, 100%. Oh.
So getting back onto the Grendel, do they favour any type of weapons, or are they like the Empire players and just go for anything they have to hand?
They'll bring what they can. Certain builds, like the Stoneborn, is one-hand weapon and shield, usually with heavy armor. They've got lots of unstoppables, and then you've got the Kraken's Jaws. They tend to be polearm and strike down. They've got a special elite choice. So every so many members of an EMU would allow you to take one mage and one special character called a Leok. I'd usually play the Leok, who is essentially trained to hunt down special characters of interest. So like generals or particularly good physics, anyone who just stands out as a high-value target, and hunt them. Leoks are the hunters hidden within the battle line. So I would basically follow the spear unit, pretend to be a regular troop, and as soon as someone stood out and started giving orders, I'd break off, go around, strike down, and then cleave both his legs out, and then just wait for him to die.
That sounds like a high risk, high reward monstering part.
It is all cardio as playing a layout, because you have got to be, and also it's very tactical. And
Leroy Jenkins.
yeah, it's all. But it would be lots of fun, like role playing in the mindset of this hunter. You're crouching, you're walking through, you're stealthing your way through the woods as the battle's going on. You're just saying like, okay, then I'm here to hunt. Who is here? Who is my target? Where is my prey? Some winter marker walks past, like, no, not that one. And then you see like a person welding a banner. Yes, that is my prey.
Okay, Morgan, I have found the role for Chloe at Empire. She's going to play a Leok. Beware, players of Empire, when Chloe gets to do that, you're all going down.
Oh, Christ.
And we eventually got that peace treaty with them, and that was all through the works of the Diplomacy Corps.
Which I believe they've put a countdown on every single letter they've sent in.
Yeah.
That it's like, remember, the treaty ends in... Is it how long's left on the treaty?
I'd say 1 season tops. Maybe it's this year. It's going to need to be renegotiating this year. And that is very much their way of going like, yeah, you have 18 months.
So,
You now have 60 months. You now have... And it just keeps going out. Much like a landlord who's...
yeah, absolutely. Remember, I can put the rent up in this amount of time.
Your ass is grass, boy.
No, I do hope that we go to war with them, because I would love to fight them.
I don't want to go to war with them because I want to just actually win as the Empire and like be happy. But I also really want to play a Grendel.
I see. Yeah, I agree. Oh, see, I want to kick the shit out of a Grendel, please.
I want to play a Grendel.
Yeah,
Screw playing a Jotun or a Druge. I want to be orc pirate drug dealer. I want to make a Salt Lord costume the size of Jabba the Hutt and just throw coins everywhere.
Yeah. So because they are one of the few barbarian nations we can actually have at least some religious talk with, because they do follow prosperity.
Okay.
So that is at least one bit of common ground we do
Be
have.
twisted it a bit, or is it just spend and make?
You spend and make. It is. They tend to be a bit more cutthroat about it, but it's still prosperity.
I don't know. Have you seen kids at Empire? They probably couldn't outdo them.
Yeah, obviously the literal protection rackets at the academy has known to inflict on its neighbours.
Oh, deadly.
I'm actually find myself quite resilient to the child sellers of Empire.
Yeah,
Mainly
you're just an idiot and lose all your money to gambling, Mr. 10 Thrones in debt.
Shh, don't worry about it. If anyone wants to donate 10 thrones to me, that would be great. You've got a bounty on your head, haven't you?
Well, I used to. I used to be I used to have the highest bounty on a player character in Empire.
Who was it that had it on you?
It was my family back in Faradon, the House Modnos, from my past life. They basically didn't like what I had to say about their granddad, and to which I responded, "Well, I was there."
Yeah.
And your granddad sold his children to the Whisper Gallery, so he was a bit of a dick. And they went, "Well, we're going to put a bounty on you." And I'm like, "Cool, that's only 10 thrones, not worth it." And then they upped the stakes and put it to 30 after burning down a museum in the League and a print works in Urizen.
Oh, Jesus.
And they then upped my bounty to 30. So it was quite funny, like, okay, then we're going to strike out at these people. We're going to burn down your museum, burn down your print works, we're going to up your bounty. And I'm like, yay, thank you, brilliant, that's amazing.
Keep going.
Keep doing.
So you say you no longer had the bounty on your head?
No, yeah, someone pulled an absolutely blinding piece of diplomatic and financial just miracle working and paid off a 150 throne fine in the space of an afternoon.
That's a shame. I wanted to. I wouldn't be able to ever claim the bounty on you being such an experienced player. I just wanted to follow you around the battlefield and hope for the best. And then he's down, grab his heart and run, lads.
It was good game. I had so many people come and say, "Hey, I run a little mercenary company, and we've heard about your big bounty, so we'd like to offer our protective services." And I would say, "Well, you're more than happy to follow me around and use it as practice. I'm not paying you because I don't need protecting, but I'm more than happy to use myself as bait for you to then train and practice by all means." I mean, we in house we have a literal guide on how to assassinate and how to avoid assassination.
Ooh, sounds handy. Have you published it?
No, because why would you give away your secrets of how to avoid getting shanked?
Yeah, don't advertise.
These are things we learned from back in the days of Maelstrom, which was just Rusty Knife Shanktown, where you could be murdered at any given time just by going to the bathroom.
Oh Christ, yeah, no. There's rumors about toilet shanking's Empire, but I think they're uncommon.
Don't be that guy.
Toilet shank, I've never really heard of any really solid case. There was the murder of Bessie the Bard, but that wasn't a toilet shanking. That was a
Targeted attack.
That was targeted assassination.
The only time I'd be tempted to do a toilet shanking is Tyrion Lannister style. Just wait a reasonable distance away, shoot.
Fire a crossbow bolt into the toilet.
Oh, missed. Aiming for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, Anvil is way, way safer now than it used to be. And it's...
Stupid gentrification of Murder Alley.
Well, it shows that PD have learned, because back in Maelstrom days, since PvP could happen at a drop of a hat and literally one camp, imagine if Dawn got up and went, you know what, Urizen's annoyed us, let's go kill them all. That would happen on the regular basis, which meant guard duty was basically mandatory. And I'd follow my friend around who had had meeting after meeting, and we'd all be rocked up in full armor all damn day. And it got so tiring and it was so dull. And so PD learned from this and went, let's make Anvil a safe place. And let's heavily brief people that just murdering people is not really
It's not in the spirit.
the done thing. It's not in the spirit of the game. It's not in the spirit of your characters or your nations. Like in the League, it's considered cheating.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite part of the League's brief. It's so clever.
Because it's like otherwise you'd all been going around stabbing each other.
Yeah.
Oh, cousin, stab.
Yeah. And so it's just so much more fun. And it feels more like Empire feels more like a civilization. It feels more like a people than Maelstrom used to.
Yeah.
Like you really do feel like this is a working, mostly, society.
it's yes.
I also think by having it safer, it makes when a murder does happen a lot more special and it has a wham.
Yeah, it makes if you are going to get shanked, then at least it's going to be noticeable.
Yeah, and you've got give the militia some game they can actually solve rather than everyone's dead. Let's just give up now. Bury the bodies and go home.
Although, pro tip, please don't go murdering people thinking you're giving game to the militia, because you're not doing that.
Yeah, God no. Yeah.
Please don't go off willingly committing horrible crimes against player brief just to create game in air quotes.
I think it's, to be fair, this has been really useful because I think we've got a good coverage of the Grendel. It's made me really want to take part as the Grendel and to kill the Grendel.
You just want to see the big dragon, don't you?
I just want to see the dragon. That's all I want to do.
I want to make the most awful Grendel costume. It will look so garish, and I'll love it.
And then also, it's just good to have someone that's been on since the start of the game.
Yeah,
and to really, get some insights.
It's always good to talk about what E1, Y1 was like. The year of it wasn't just the system that was new, but we had the game was cursed off the get-go. We had the worst weather on 4 separate events. E1, Y1 was minus 10 degrees Celsius. We had snowdrifts on the way into camp, and then E2 had some of the highest winds on record. E3 was an absolute heat wave, and E4 had some of the highest rainfalls we've ever had on field. So someone actually went and minted a bunch of medals to commemorate the 4 extreme weathers of the first year of Empire.
Not gonna lie, right now you sound like a grandparent talking about their
You don't know how good it you have.
I used to go 72 miles through Siberian cold to get to school.
Well, back in my day, OOC camping was at the top end of Dadford Road. So it was a 1.5 kilometer walk back to Anvil, and I'm not even lying, it was.
I was there when the Imperial Orcs didn't have a territory.
Yep.
As an experienced player, have you got any advice for any new players that might be listening?
Yeah, so always make sure you attend the new player briefing. PD hold a new player briefing. There's various resources online, which I believe they do link on the wiki, such as there's a brilliant animation. If you just Empire LARP animation, a person for their animation degree went and made a great guide on how to get into Empire, how to get into LARPing, and it's in a nice, easy 5-minute long format. Always recommend that particular video. And Well, one would be potentially find myself. For the next year at least, I'm looking to help the new people in the game find their game, because I know a lot of people. I know Anvil, and I'm quite happy to have done my game. I want to help other people find theirs.
No, that's really good of you.
Yeah, that's really good. And your character is Colin Durandal, and you can be found, I guess, at the Durandal camp. Are you happy for people to approach you in character?
Yeah, absolutely. With questions, or like if people just want to fight me, it's. Yeah, no, I'll go in the glory square, and you square off, and someone goes, "Oh, you're the Lord. You were the champion of glory. I've been waiting to fight you for ages." And I'm like, "Cool, I'm more than happy to
kick the shit out of you. Let's go."
Yeah, I went into that fight on 1 hit point, no hero points, and a pre-existing traumatic wound. So,
oh Jesus, did you win?
No, of course not. But yeah, that's it's all about helping other people get their game. So yeah, there's every nation has that, and don't be afraid to talk to your egregores. They literally exist to help you find your game. The
I wish
egregores
I'd
are the
spoken to
nicest.
egregores a little bit more in my first kind of event. I didn't actually.
They bankrupt me. I'm
Yeah,
still not over that.
your egregore bankrupted.
Well, that's because you've got Harlequin, and he's a reprobate.
I love the Harlequin.
a delightful reprobate, but still.
But a reprobate nonetheless.
Yeah, so when we went on the raid of Dubtrake, he said, "Oh yes, I'm going to take my fleet, and it's a League pleasure barge." So everyone turns up with soldiers and magma lions, and there's the League egregore turning up on a literal like a pimp boat.
Oh,
I love it. This is why League is best nation, in my opinion. The drip.
and also, people might not know, probably a good time to shout this out, is that you can actually get, if you know anyone that's been to Empire before, you can use their reference code to get a discount. So is it £15 off?
So if you find someone with a discount code that has gone before, and they get £15 and you get £15 each deposited in your account. And
it's prosperous.
Yeah, it helps people. And if you are a student or you are on various forms of universal credit, universal income, you can ask for the concession price.
Yep.
So PD will do they have done a lot of what they can to help people get into the game as cheaply as they can.
Yeah, no, it's really helpful. It's quite good for that. I mean, we've both. Well, I have my. This is completely, selfless for me to do this. But I have my discount code in my Instagram, Glorious LARPer. If anyone needs that discount, don't follow Tom's, because Tom's already had to, because he's a sneaky little shit.
I'm a poor man
that will quickly get into messages from listeners and be like, "Give it to me. Give me the discount. Don't tell anyone else."
I think my best one is when I enticed 6 of you at the same time to go.
Yeah, we paid for your first trip to Empire, and then you were the first person to snipe a listener. And like, oh, yeah, use my discount code.
No, he just offered it to me. I'm just that lovable.
Sure.
Well, it goes in circles, because Tom got you in to LARP, and I got Tom in, and I got Tom's code.
Yeah,
so
this is all Adam's fault. You're in a huge addictive hobby.
Yeah, no, but like we've all got. I've got a discount code in my Instagram at Glorious LARPer. Tom's got his. Do you have yours in your bio?
No, I should probably. Should we put on the LARPs and TARPs as well? Every one of ours.
We'll put it on the LARPs and TARPs as well.
Yeah, don't forget Kerry.
I know I feel like we should put all 6.
All 5.
6 of us. Oh no, it is 5 of us.
All 5. Put the all cast in, and then we could do a vote. Whoever gets the most discounts is the favourite cast member.
Unless we just rotate it episode to episode. Now you're just getting Patreon planning content.
No, it's a vote. You have to pick your favourite cast member.
Morgan's ego is already big enough. Don't do it.
It worked out well for Tabletop Weekly, because they got hundreds. Literally, like they can play Empire for the next decade without paying a single coin.
Living the dream. And on that note, I think it's time to see ourselves out.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Yeah, no worries.
And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next week. We're going to talk about the Thule.
Pleasure as always. Bye, friends.